Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum dear students. I hope you are enjoying good health. This is 10th lecture of research methodology. In the previous lecture we discussed about plagiarism and ethics of research. One thing I forget to tell you about plagiarism is that plagiarism limit allowed by Higher Education Commission of Pakistan is less or equal to 19%. So the plagiarism the similarity index should be less or equal to 19%. This percentage is allowed by the HEC. In this lecture we will discuss about how to publish a research paper. The young researchers often used to ask the following questions regarding their research: how to publish a research paper, where to publish a research paper. In this lecture, we will discuss some simple and efficient steps to publish research papers. First of all, we have to choose a research topic. Choosing a research topic for your paper includes choose a topic that you are interested in, narrow your topic to something manageable, discuss your research ideas with your supervisor. Then publish your paper in an impact factor journal or HEC recognized journal. You can see HEC recognized journals on the HEC website. A PhD student have to publish research papers in impact factor journal or HEC recognized journal, which is the requirement for the graduation or PhD degree. The PhD student in Pakistan must have to publish at least one paper in HEC recognized journals or impact factor international journal. Paper publishing in journal is more recognizable and preferable by the academic community than paper publication in international conferences. So what should be the structure of a research paper? Research papers should be prepared according to the following structure. Number one is the title. In previous lectures we have discussed about writing a title in detail. After the title we should have to write authors' names and then affiliation, place of work and the corresponding author's email. Then we have to write abstract of the research paper. The abstract should be brief and straightforward. The abstract must emphasize the key findings of the work and its general significance. The abstract should convey the purpose of the project, identifying the area of study to which it belongs, the research problem that motivates the project, the methods used to address this research problem, the significance of the research work, and why are the results useful. In short, the abstract contains background of the study, aim, sample collection, methods, results, and conclusion. Then we have to write keywords of the research paper. Keywords is a list not exceeding 4 to 6 words that can be taken from the title of the paper. This should be chosen carefully that reflect the precise content of the paper. For example, if you are writing a research paper related to fluid dynamics, you should have to write some keywords related to fluid dynamics. For example, you are working on laminar flow or turbulent flow or nanofluid, you should have to write some keywords or some concepts, key concepts in the keywords. Then comes introduction. The introduction talks about the relevant primary research literature with citations and summarize your current understanding of the research paper problem that you are presenting. You have to Also state the purpose of your work in the form of hypothesis, question or problem. Finally, you have to briefly explain your approach in solving the problem of the research. Then we have to write materials and methods. You have to explain clearly how you carried out your study. Talk about the experimental or sampling design, that is how the experiment or study was structured. You should mention in detail how the data was analyzed, qualitative analysis or quantitative analysis. Then we have to state the results using tables and figures and describe the important details shown in those tables and figures. We have to write discussions of the results. We have to point out the significance of the results in relation to the reasons for doing the work and place them in the context of other related work of other researchers. This means we have to compare our findings with other related work in the literature. So in this way, the significance of our results will be mentioned. In the end, we have to write conclusions. You should clearly state the implications of your findings. The conclusion should focus on what was achieved, what still needs to be improved. In the end, we have to write references. You have to add all the references which were used within your paper as a list at the end of your paper. All citations should be referenced and the list should be according to the journal citation style format. Each journal has its unique style. As in the previous lecture we studied about the references style. So each journal has its unique style, either alphabetical order or following the numbering in the text. Now, dear students, we see some tips for getting the paper published. You have to find time and funding to do your research. Send your paper to the correct journal. When you send your paper to wrong journal, it will be rejected. So we have to send the paper to the correct journal according to the scope of your work and scope of the journal. Try to answer the following question before submitting your paper. Does your paper fits the journal's aim and scope? Ask a colleague to check your work. Always follow the correct submissions procedure of the journal. Each journal has its unique submission procedure, so you should have to follow the correct submissions procedure. Read the manuscript submission guidelines or author's guidelines or author's instructions. Most journals have manuscript submission guidelines for authors, as you have seen in the previous assignment. In the previous lecture, I have told you about the author's guidelines of mathematics journal. Be careful when you write your abstract. The editor and the reviewers will read your abstract first. If they did not find it interesting and contains original contribution, they will reject your paper. Your abstract should be clear. Say something new within your abstract. So your abstract should be attractive. The much your abstract is attractive, there are more chances of your paper will be published. Prepare your paper according to the journal's template, which is the sample file for writing the paper according to the journal's unique format. Each journal has its unique template. It can be downloaded from the journal's website. If you get negative recommendations about your paper, you can respond to the comments and explain your point of view. If you see that those comments are not fair, or the reviewers did conclude something not fair regarding your contributions, but be careful. You have to be scientific and polite. If your paper is rejected, do not give up. Make use of reviewers' comments. Find a good mentor or guide or supervisor. You may consider joint authorship or co-authorship and submit your paper to some other relevant journal. So these are some tips you should have to follow for publishing your paper. Now we see where we have to publish our research paper. The process of submitting and publishing research articles can be difficult for junior researchers. We now discuss some points which are to assist scholars of all stages in submitting and publishing their research papers in peer-reviewed journals. Step 1. Based on your research topic, find some related journals. Step 2. You are going to choose one and only one journal to publish your research paper. So rank these potential journals based on the following criteria. So what is the criteria? Number 1. Journal scope. Each journal has its own aims and scope section. Read it carefully and match your paper to the subjects mentioned in the aims and scope section of the journal. Number 2. Indexing. If you like your paper to be read by other scholars, find the page that talks about abstracting and indexing. Each journal will have such pages on their websites. The more indexing and abstracting partners, the wider your paper will be available to other scholars. The HCC recognized indexing for science journals is Science Citation Index Expanded, which is known as SCIE. Number 3. Review time. Since you are going to submit your paper to one journal at a time, then you have to find a journal that will reply you soon. If you are looking for fast publication, you will have to find a journal that will reply you earlier. Getting your acceptance letter within your time frame from the editor is most important for most scholars. For example, for PhD scholars, they want their paper to be accepted soon. So you should have to search the journal site for average time needed to review your paper. You have to see how frequently the journal publishes its issues in a year. You may also email the editor and ask about the average time needed to review your paper. If the editor does not respond to an inquiry about average time ranges, then you have to expect long time to get the peer review results. Number 4. Publication frequency. Journals that have more issues per year will be faster than those journals with 1 or 2 issues per year. So we have to choose such journals which publish more issues. Number 5 is journal reputation. You can evaluate reputation of the journals by checking their titles within Scopus and Web of Science Master Journal list that can be found in this link, mjl.clarivate.com/home. Journals that are included in Scopus or Web of Science Master Journal list have more reputation than other journals. So this was the criteria to rank the journals. After checking this criteria, you should make a list with respect to their rank, and you should have to submit number 1 journal so that your paper may be published soon. Submitting and resubmitting your paper. Before submitting your paper, ask a colleague or professor to review your research paper. They should edit your paper for grammar, spelling errors, typos, clarity, and conciseness. They should also verify your content. Research papers need to present an issue that is significant and relevant. They should be clearly written, easy to follow, and appropriate for the intended audience. Submit your article when you feel it's ready to go. Go to the author's guide or author's instruction on the journal's website to review its submission requirements. Once you are satisfied that your paper meets all the guidelines, submit the paper through the appropriate channels. Many journals allow online submission or via email. Submit your article to only one journal at a time. It means you should not submit your paper to more than one journal. You should send your paper to the journal's editor using the journal's email, or you can use the online submission system. Don't panic when you get the journal's initial response. Very few article submissions get an immediate accept reply from the peer-reviewed journal. If you do get one of these, go celebrate. Otherwise, calmly deal with the reply you get. It will likely be one of the following. Accept with revision. Only minor revisions or changes are needed based on the provided feedback by the reviewers. Or revise and submit. More substantial changes or major changes are required as prescribed or needed before publication can be considered, but the journal is still very interested in your work. So this may be the reply you get from the editor's email, or you may get the reply of reject and resubmit. The article is not currently possible for consideration, but substantial alterations and refocusing may be able to change this outcome. Or you may get the reply of reject by the journal, which means the paper is not and will not be suitable for the publication, but that doesn't mean it might not work for another journal. So you may get one of these replies from the journal. Revise your paper based on your reviewers' recommendations or comments or suggestions before final submission of your research paper. Give a special effort to make your paper clear, engaging, and easy to follow. This will greatly increase the chances of the paper being published. Keep trying to get your paper published. Even if you are ultimately rejected by your preferred journal, continue to rewrite your research paper and edit your research paper according to the reviewers' comments and suggestions, and continue to submit it to other journals or continue to submit the paper to other relevant journals. So dear students, this is the end of our lecture. In this lecture we have discussed about how to publish a research paper, what is the structure of the research paper, what are the tips to follow for getting the research paper published, where we have to publish our research paper, and submitting and resubmitting research paper after revisions and after changings. This is your assignment for this lecture. You should have to describe the role of mathematicians in industrial, business, financial, and healthcare research. If you have any queries, any questions, you may ask in the discussion room of our class. In the next lecture, we will discuss about typing the research report in Scientific Workplace, installation of Scientific Workplace, sample thesis writing, save and close or open the document in Scientific Workplace. Take care of yourself and your family. Allah Hafiz.